We are men. We are warriors. We are dads. Dads with a purpose. Dads with an edge. We sharpen our skills so we can show up best for others. We have one shot in life to be a dad. Why not make it epic?
Gentlemen, welcome to the Dad Edge Podcast. I'm Larry Hagner, your host and founder of this show. If this is your first time here, this is Thursday Throwdown. That's my best Bruce Buffer right there. Yeah, you like that? All right, cool. Here we go. So we are at the end of May, and gosh, as we record this, it's actually the middle of April. So I'm hoping to God by the time this show releases, this whole quarantine thing is done, because I look like a psychopath right now as I record this show. I took a selfie this morning of my hair. I look like Albert Einstein at this point. It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't have the mustache, though, but I definitely got the hair. So I've got a great show for you guys today. Thursday Throwdown is where I'm interviewing one of our Dad Edge Alliance Mastermind community members. So this is the Everyday Dad. This is the dad in the trenches. You guys love this show. I keep getting more and more great feedback on this show because it's the real dad. It's the one you can relate to. Wednesdays, I do the Wednesday Q&A. So that's where we treat that as like a call-in radio show where we stream this live through our community and you guys can jump on and ask questions. We never know what questions are coming. We don't even know if we're going to have the right answers, but we do what we can. Monday, that's when I release a show with a guest that's usually operating at some sort of high level. We've had on Jocko Willink. We've had on Leif Babin, Mark Devine. We've had on UFC legend Frankie Edgar. We now have Tim Kennedy coming to the show as well. So good times, good things happening here. Hey, real quick before we jump into today's show, I want to share with you guys one of our elite sponsors. And without this resource in my life, I would be a basket case right now, because now my 14-year-old and my 12-year-old both have phones. So I was very leery to do this, but they're at that age. They had to prove some responsibility. Obviously, they were the last kids in their class to get phones, but so I'm proud of that aspect. But they both have phones. But here's the cool thing. We have a resource called Bark, and you've heard me talk about this on other shows. But the statistics and things out there are absolutely terrifying. So I don't know if you guys know these statistics or not, but over half of adolescents and teens have been bullied online in some way, shape, or form. More than 1 in 3 young people have experienced cyber threats online. Over 25% of adolescents and teens have been bullied repeatedly through their cell phones or on the internet. And guess what? 80% of these kids do not share this with their parents. They hold it all in, they bottle it up, they isolate. There's no wonder that obviously there's a higher number of kids who are suffering from anxiety and depression, even suicide or suicidal ideation. The cool thing about Bark is it's an application that you can use, that you can download onto your kid's phone, that you have a connection to. And the way Bark works is it keeps up with the current language of what kids use. So and it's constantly evolving. So what it does is it detects keywords, and it will send you alerts to your phone and computer saying, hey, this might be something you want to take a look at. It's under the category of cyberbullying, or it's under the category of sexual explicit content, or it's under violence. And then what it'll do is it'll actually snapshot whatever it is your kid is searching on the internet, or whatever their text message is, or an email, or social media, everything. I get alerts, and Bark shares with me, hey, this word was used in a text conversation with your son's friend, and it'll actually show me the conversation so I can go in and say, was this a threat or were these kids just being silly? Bark also will give you ways and resources to have conversations, because it's one thing to know this information, and then it's another thing to be like, well, hey, what am I going to do with this information? How am I going to have this conversation? Bark will actually give you resources, ideas, and ways to have these conversations with your kids that are effective and non-threatening. If you guys want to check out Bark, you can sign up for a free 7-day trial, and we have an exclusive discount code that you can utilize through our particular organization. So if you go to gooddadproject.com/bark, use gooddad, all one word, upon checkout, you'll get a 7-day trial period, and you'll get 10% off of your monthly subscription, which is only $8.10. $8.10. It's less than Netflix, for crying out loud, for peace of mind. Because here's the thing. None of us want to go over our kids' shoulders or grab their phone when they're not looking. That's way too much time. Bark will keep an eye on your kids for you. I'll have a link for you guys in the show notes if you go to gooddadproject.com/Thursday213 for this show. Today, I am interviewing an absolute legend in our community. He is an amazing individual, super happy. He's actually one of our mentors as well. So if you're a new guy coming to the Alliance, you might be teamed up with Chris. Chris owns and operates a business. He is a professional drummer as well. And I'm just going to let him talk about his really cool platform and how he goes about life and drumming and how he goes about fatherhood. It's very unique. You're probably scratching your head like, well, what does a drummer have to do with fatherhood? Everything. That's what it has to do with. And you guys will find out in this show. So I'm proud to introduce this legend. What's up, Chris?
How's it going?
I felt like I should have had a drum roll as I introduced you. Maybe I should have had you in the background.
I want to just point out quickly that the very beginning of the awesome Dad Edge podcast music, that really cool song in the intro, it does start out with drums. I just want to point that out. And that's kind of the power of drums. And I love that intro. So whoever that drummer is, it's not me, but just wanted to point that out. That's super cool.
Do you want to hear a really funny story?
I do.
This won't take long. So one of my good friends is Sean Stevenson from the Model Health Show. Sean used to have a co-host by the name of Jade Harrell, who is a producer. So Jade and I, we both live in St. Louis. We've gotten to be pretty good friends. And I went to Jade because she produces and she produces all kinds of things, but she can do that. So I went to the iHeartRadio studio and I was like, all right, Jade, I need an intro and an outro. And I came there with a piece of music that I paid $100 for royalty free. And I played it for her. She's like, Larry, Nope. That's not in line with your brand. It's just not in line. So she played that music and she was like, woo, yes, that's the music you need. And so and she even coached me through how to say it. So we are men. And she even told me, she's like, no, Larry, when you say one shot, you got to say you got one shot, Larry. So she was the one behind the curtain, man, that was like, no, say it like this. So that's how that whole thing came to be.
I'm sure I'm not the only guy in the call that always wanted to know the story behind that because I really enjoy it. I listen to the podcast. I've listened to, hundreds of episodes and that intro kicks up. I never get tired of it and it fires me up. And, the way the voicing is and it's killer. So I can't be the only one that wants to know that story. So thanks.
That's hilarious. I've never told that story. This is the first time, but yeah, it was, dude, her personality is hilarious.
And I'm sure there's another drummer that's heard it and went, yeah, that's kick-ass drums, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, man. So let's get into you. Let's get into what you're all about. You've got a really very cool, unique platform and a story. You're a father of two, soon to be three. Absolutely. Married. But yeah, tell us about you, man.
Well, I remember meeting you and you said you have 4 boys and you said, it's not for the faint of heart. And I went, wow, I can't imagine having more than 2. And now I'm in that next level. So I'm getting ready for that. But what I do is drum. And I've always been fascinated ever since I can remember with who we are as people relates to the drumming itself. So that turned into something I call Life Through Rhythm, LTR, and it's your best self through drumming. So drumming is the lens to really find ourselves because we play who we are. And I've always been fascinated, if you look at the legends of drumming and music for that matter, the Miles Davises and the legends of music, it's you can tell who they are by hearing them. And who they are comes through every note. And really that's what happens in drums. I've seen an experiment where if you play just something really simple on the drums and then someone else plays the same thing, even trying to be the same, they sound like their fingerprint. So it's literally we all have different fingerprints. You can't help but sound like yourself when you play drums. And I like to use something called the Michelangelo metaphor, which is his approach to his art, the great sculptor and artist Michelangelo. And he said when he was sculpting and he started with the original block of marble, he said the sculpture is already inside. I'm just chipping away at the excess marble. So I'm just removing the unessential. So what I feel is my mission and passion to do is when I have my students and my community that are also passionate about drumming, I just want to remove anything unessential to have their voice come out on the drums and be themselves through speaking that language of drumming. And drumming is ancient. It's the oldest instrument next to the voice. You can see I can just drum on my body. I can beatbox and just like use your voice or your hands as a drum. We feel our heartbeats. And if you've ever seen two drummers converse, it's hilarious. It's like, oh yeah, that blah blah blah, yeah, man, that was awesome. And it's like a language, and it's an ancient language. And to me, life through rhythm, as we said, it's we play who we are, your best self through drumming. So rhythm is also the rhythm of our habits, the rhythm of our thoughts, the rhythm of our voice, what we speak and what we do in the world. And really being a servant leader, because as a drummer, you're like the heartbeat. You're in the back, but we all know an average band with an excellent drummer will elevate, and a really good band with a mediocre drummer or a drummer that's not paying attention will just bring down the whole thing. And what I noticed is, through myself and my students and community, who we're all on this path to be our best selves through playing the drums, is things like focus. I call it the F word. And it's hilarious when I'm doing this presentation of like kids. I just had a kid on Zoom the other day, and I was like, what's the F word? And they always freeze. They're like, should I say it? And I'm like, it's focus. And they're like, oh, whew, okay, fine. And focus is the F word. And that's something like every freaking adult struggles with too, right? Like these things right here, we all have distraction. That we're in the age of dramatic distraction, just coming from every angle. And to be your best self, playing music or whatever, or in any moment, focus is a huge one. And just developing confidence, as we said before, like your personal fingerprint, believing in yourself, believing in who you are has value, because we all struggle with, if I just mimic this other person, I'll be safer hiding behind the guise of someone else that's great, because I don't want to be vulnerable in being myself. And it's my mission to uncover, the confidence within people through, in my case, it's through drumming. So focus, confidence, and self-expression, hearing what you have to say on the instrument. And a lot of traditional music education is not really concerned with that. So I really have my own kind of fresh view of this, bringing it into the future and really empowering people through the drums. So it's fun.
Never heard of this before. through drumming, right? Like I've heard, karate, right?
Yeah.
Martial arts, instruments. Haven't, which is interesting. However, I can explain more though. Explain more, like as far as how you go about this. And I'm also very intrigued. Again, I think the audience is probably scratching their head at this point, like, wait, what does this have to do with me being a dad? But I know you have some really interesting views in how you utilize this discipline, this creative energy that you have, and how you bring it into the other aspects of your life.
100%. Well, there's a spectrum really, and that's what's so cool about and fun with what I get to do this every day. There's really a whole spectrum that this falls into, and one part of it is, and I hear what you're saying. There are many people that maybe haven't thought of drumming, aren't they're like, oh, I don't know, never thought of that, not really into that. just like me with, you know, I don't know, basketball. Not really, doesn't occur to me to do this, but there's things that are universal in drumming, like movement, like you mentioned martial arts. So it's like movement. We all got to move, you know, so the lesson in drumming is like, just sit down and start moving. And sometimes there's this paradox of like, I'll do it when I feel like it. But such a big part of, you know, being a success and having the life, taking charge of your life is like controlling your state. So do it and then feel like it. Don't feel like it and then do it. So that's such a big part of the power of movement is like, I can't tell you how many times I haven't felt like practicing and I'm like, okay. And I sit down, pick up the stick, start moving. And, you know, 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by, and my state changes. And this is universal with movement. So someone that never, you know, a dad that never is going to drum and not really into it, the lesson movement would be one of them. And like we talked about, focus, confidence, self-expression, the rhythm of habits, like just the rhythm of your day and the rhythm of your habits. And I've got a book coming out, well, it'll be about 80 years it comes out by the, you know, it takes a long time to write a book, and having 3 kids slows down the process a little bit, but it's called The Rhythm of Practice. And I'm really fascinated with the subject of practicing, because your daily practice is a rhythm, and it could be yoga, it could be martial arts, it could be showing up to be the best dad that you can be, which is all the little kind of micro habits that go into that, like journaling, joining the Dad Edge Alliance, having mentors, controlling our speech, just all the things that go into that, and just having a daily practice. And that could be movement related, but it's like just examining our daily practices and trying to have 1% wins by just tweaking those and making them a little bit better every day, and just kind of detaching and looking what those are. And discipline is a massive part of that, because if you take apart the word discipline, it means disciple. And what are we a disciple of? And that's like following your best self, following, you know, mentors that you want to aspire to be like, the best qualities in yourself coming out. Like someone in the Dad Edge Alliance said recently, the best version of yourself can figure this out. And I love that. So that's like bringing that person inside you to life through whatever practice in your life that happens to be, whether it's drumming, basketball, rowing, whatever it is. And I know you, Larry, you're doing, I guess you call it life through guitar. Like you're taking, you know, you're doing something. I guess you're embracing the suck, because I know you're new at it. I'm not saying you suck, but you're doing something new, you know, and I believe we should all do something that.
Oh no, I suck.
Yeah. and within that is like the struggle of showing up to a daily practice, consistency, facing yourself. Practice is really an inner journey. So I'm sure when you do that, you probably are growing humility in yourself, right? Like, man, this is freaking hard. And like, dude, I had it yesterday.
Yeah.
And today, where did it go? And you know, that's showing up and just being, you know, just enforcing things like humility and serving something greater, being an example. Because I know you'd mentioned, you know, your kids see you practicing and doing something new. And so that's the kind of spectrum of what I do. And the far end of the spectrum would be, you know, people like that just have no interest in drumming and that maybe never thought of it, but they could take some of the lessons out of it that we talked about. And then the other end of the spectrum is just people that, you know, they do it and they're like, man, this feels good. This is fun. I'm moving. I'm playing, you know, some of my favorite music. I'm being childlike, not childish, childlike. And I can't tell you, Larry, how many of the great elderly drummers I've been blessed to be around in my life. And I've had some great teachers, and they are all like kids, man. So drumming, and it may not be drumming, but find the fountain of youth for you that just keeps you childlike every day.
Well, I agree with you that. So I think if I'm scratching my head here and I'm like, okay, audience, I'm trying. I want to make sure that you're getting this. And yeah, Chris is right. So I just started playing guitar, and I'm going to share a lesson about that, about humility and about ego and all that good stuff. So my 14-year-old plays saxophone. We've tried every sport imaginable for him, and he just wasn't digging any of it. So we always struggled with my oldest for years, like, hey, what can we find? And we're the type of parents that we never pushed him into anything. We encouraged him to try things. And the deal is like, hey, if you try this, you're in it for the season. Okay, you can't give up. But if you don't like it, we don't have to sign you back up. Okay. So he always knew he had that out. But the deal was you never quit. Long story short, he found the trombone. And we took him to go see OAR back in 2017, and we had front row tickets in Kansas City. And he saw the saxophone player playing sax, and that was it. That's all it took. And he didn't play saxophone his first year, he played trombone, really enjoyed it, and then moved on to sax for the past year. And he has just embraced that instrument as like literally an extension of who he is.
Wow.
Which I think, yeah, he's very passionate about it. He's very good at it. He can actually play by ear, which blows my mind. Like we were out on our deck one night, we were listening to a song and it had saxophone in it. And he just kind of like perked his eyes up and he's like listening to it very intently. And I was like, can you tell what notes he's playing? He's like, yeah. And I was like, do you think you could play that? He's like, I think so. And he just started playing it. And I was like, oh, wow. So then my 12-year-old kind of took a liking to, he's always been like more the kid who enjoys athletics. So he plays football. He's like, hey, in my off season, I want to learn to play drums. So he's been playing drums. And so I usually just drop them off at the school that they go to on Tuesday nights. And I just sit there on my phone like every other parent. And one night my kids challenged me and they're like, hey, haven't you ever wanted to play an instrument? And I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to learn how to play guitar. And they're like, well, why don't you get in on that? Get off your phone like all the other parents and get off your phone and get onto a guitar. And I'm like, oh, okay, challenge accepted. And what I can tell you is playing guitar, learning to play guitar has literally been the most humbling, embarrassing, humiliating experiences of my life playing guitar. I feel like I'm walking, chewing bubblegum, patting my head, rubbing my stomach, trying to skip and run backwards all at the same time. Like, I'm just like, this is really hard. The cool thing about this is that it has, so what does this have to do with being a father, right? It has reminded me that you're never too old to learn something new. And it puts you back in the shoes of your kids when they are trying to learn something they've never learned. And it could be an instrument. It could be a life lesson. It could be something on grit. It could be anything. It could be sex education. It could be their newest form of algebra. It could be like writing their paper for the first time. So it's really put me back in the shoes of being childlike again and learning something I never have. And it's put me in a better place to be more empathetic, and it's helped me with my communication skills with them. And I swear, man, it's rewiring my brain, which hurts.
Literally.
It does. Like I can see like when I sit down with my instructor, he's just like, ooh. Like I'm just like making his skin crawl when I hit a bad note. So, but yeah, how have you incorporated this into you being a husband and father? What's up, guys? Taking a quick break here because I want to share some news with you guys. Not too long ago, I just got my 13-year-old, almost 14-year-old, his first phone, and it absolutely terrified me. Maybe I'm late to the game. I don't know. There's like 8-year-olds out there that are running around with phones, but he finally got his new phone, which scared the crap out of me. But here's the thing. When we get our kids their own devices, we're basically giving them the keys to like this much larger world. And with technology comes risks. Man, they are exposed to a minefield out there of online predators, cyberbullying. And so how are we as parents supposed to protect them? Are we supposed to grab their phone randomly and read every text and email? Maybe spend hours going through their browsing history, or I'm going to put on blinders, hope for the best. I don't know. Well, Bark can help. They are a new company that we are partnering with. My wife and I have been using them for months now. Love it. But Bark is an award-winning service that analyzes all your children's text messages, all their emails, and even their social media. It will send you alerts when problematic issues arise And Bark even recommends actions we can take as parents when situations arise like cyberbullying, depressed teens, social media issues, even online safety hacks. But here's how it works. Bark uses an advanced technology that keeps up with the evolution of language and recognizes possible dangers. I'm sure you're wondering, like, well, what kind of dangers? Well, anything from bullying, violence, adult content, depression, self-harm, and suicidal ideation. Often, the only sign of trouble can be found in a teen or tween's phone. And the majority of the time, as parents, we don't even know until we get the notification from Bark that there is a potential threat. Think of it this way. When we get our kids a bike, we get them a helmet. When we get them a mobile device, we get them Bark. Bark is an essential tool for parents who are raising kids in a digital age, no doubt about it. If you're a listener here, you can take advantage of their 10% off offer every single month. Just go to gooddadproject.com/bark, B-A-R-K. Use the coupon code GOODDAD, all one word, upon checkout. You'll receive 10% off your monthly subscription, which is only $8.10. It's a small price to pay for peace of mind. Again, go to gooddadproject.com/bark and use the coupon code GOODDAD, all one word, upon checkout. All right, back to the show. How have you incorporated this into you being a husband and father?
Well, I love what you said about growing. You're literally growing new neurons and growing, slowly growing that muscle memory. So patience is a part of it. And I think, drummers are passionate, energetic people. And with that maybe comes an impatience. So I find I have to be, patience is something I'm working on. And, the challenges that we're going through right now even make it, even magnify that challenge. And I've been playing drums over 3 decades, and I face that of having to just be patient. You got to just start over again and look within yourself and find the motivation and bring out that passion and start fresh and be in the moment. And I think how it's affected me being a husband is learning to definitely have, that balance for something you're trying to build and something you're trying to grow. And it's like a positive obsession, like every drummer that I'm met, like you don't need any motivation to practice. It's like, oh my God, just listen to 2 drummers talk. Oh yeah, did you see this? And this is so cool. And did you check that out and get the latest DVD and the book and stuff. So trying to be the best husband I can be, it helps me detach and keep it in perspective, because what do we have if we don't have love? My beautiful wife, Nancy, like, what does drumming mean if I don't have her? And what does drumming mean if I don't have my health? So it's given it meaning, and I'm almost getting choked up just saying this, because, when we play and we're telling the story of our lives, whether it's through English or whatever craft you choose, you're telling the story of your life that your kids are seeing and the world is seeing. And what story are you telling? So it's like that classic story of like, you get to the end of your life and you've built an empire and it's all for nothing. So it's my obsession, and we all have something we love and are obsessed with. But trying to be the best husband I could be, it puts it in perspective and it helps give it meaning. And it helps me, I think, when I sit behind the drums to have something to say instead of just almost like you mentioned, ego, pumping. I'm almost like talking to myself and just stroking my own ego. And wow, that was pretty cool. I can pray faster than I did yesterday. Woo. And then you get to the end of your life and what does it all mean? And you haven't seen the forest for the trees. So being the best husband I can be, it helps give it meaning. And being the best father I can be, same thing. But I think there's an added layer of those little eyes are watching you. So when they see, daddy come home or upstairs from the practice room or home from work because I get to teach and empower other people through drumming, through also my own journey, but helping people become the heroes in their own lives. And my lens just happens to be drumming. But they see Daddy loves what he does. And I hope that gives them just some inspiration on being a beacon, like, wow, like I could do that. You know, it opens possibility and it opens potential. And they're seeing Daddy be humble and keep trying. Like you said, you're playing guitar and it's like, that didn't work. I'm going to show up the next day, and your kids are watching it like, wow, Daddy's trying to uncover his potential, and he's falling on his freaking face, and he's getting up. You know, he's getting hit 8 times and he's getting up 9 times. and also uncovering possibility and just leaving, you know, like the saying in the Dad Edge Alliance is legacy is forever. So I'm also leaving something that's bigger than myself, like being a servant leader through drumming. You know, I'm serving something greater than myself, and being a father definitely is that. Being the best husband I can be definitely is that. And drums just symbolizes that. And I think we can make it, you know, drumming in itself is not necessarily a good thing. It could be used for evil purposes of of just like, you know, trying to show off, trying to pump up your ego, trying to do those types of things. And I think it can be used for a way to uncover potential and possibility. So I hope I can be an example of that for my kids and show up for my family as best I can.
This is depth into the creative mind, my friend, because the out of 570 shows, I've never gone into philosophical parenting and husband into drumming. So I appreciate that. I do have a question for you. I've enjoyed asking this question lately because the answers that emerge are pretty cool. So if your oldest son, Henry, is 2?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Just about to be 2.
And your daughter is?
Mia is just past 3. So she's 3 in a couple months.
So you've been a dad for 3 in a couple months. So you have Mia and Henry and now this third one on the way. I want you to think back to Chris 4 years ago. Okay. If you were to sit down at dinner with Chris 4 years ago, nose to nose, toes to toes, and you were to have a conversation with the Chris now today, and you were to have a conversation with him about what to expect, best lessons learned, things to consider, what would you say to Chris?
That is an amazing question. I think I really respect the power of mantras, and when I felt most frustrated, most caged, most confused, most just directionless. I have said this thing to myself sometimes where it's like, I'm creating, I'm growing, I'm serving. I'm creating, I'm growing, I'm serving. And sometimes I think, well, okay, the me of 4 or 5 years ago, sometimes you get wrapped up in a self-importanceness, and urgency is a good thing, but it's like the double-edged sword, the bad part of urgency, where it's like you're not detaching and seeing what really matters. So I think I would remind myself of those 3 things. Just continue to serve, continue to grow, continue to create wherever you're planted. One of my favorite books, and we talked about mentors, and mentors can be alive or dead. So this is a long dead mentor, Marcus Aurelius, and the book is Meditations. And he just has an ability to detach and, you know, welcome the obstacle and circumstances that you can't control. So what better time, you know, than the situation we're in, right? It's like so much of what's happening right now we can't control, but it's like you can still serve in those tiny moments. you can still create something, and it could be creating a smile. I was walking my dog and my kids out today, and someone passes you, and they're there's a lot of stress and anxiety and depression happening, and maybe just flash them a little smile. That's creating. That's being creative in the moment. And growing. We can grow and learn even just in the tiniest ways and get those 1% wins. So in my worst moments, I've been wrapped up in my self-importance, and I'm not really seeing what matters, and that I got to look back at myself and say, you know what, there's something bigger here, and really going through that, the confusion and the growth of what it means to have kids really kind of forces you to see that. And I think the ones that show up and take on that challenge, that's really the lesson. It's like the old you has to die, and the new you is you're kind of going through a death, and the new you is reborn, and it opens you up to that larger world where it's not about you.
I love you, man.
Love you too, man. And thank you, Larry.
Dude.
I know everybody listening right now is like, thank you for what you do. You are selfless, and you're serving you. And before we got in this call, I was saying, like, who helps the helper? Are you okay? Because when we're all going to look back on this crisis and see how we showed up or we didn't show up. And we're all going to remember, people will remember how you acted and how you conducted yourself through these times of crisis. And I'm not perfect. I find I'm just more irritable, more impatient during this time, but I'm trying to keep detaching and remember that we're going to look back on this time, and your kids are watching you, and your friends and community are watching you, and how did you show up during this time? And I've just been watching you and how you're showing up, and just serving. And I just want to thank you for that. And I know everybody listening feels the same way.
Oh man, I appreciate that.
Going beyond what you have to do, and going above and beyond, the last mile, which is rare. So thank you, Larry.
Well, thank you. You and I were just talking before we hit record that I got to be honest, man. I know I facilitate the mastermind along with our leadership team, and you're on the mentor team. We have a leadership team now of 45 people. It blows my mind. If it wasn't for our members, and if it wasn't for our leadership team, you and I were discussing this before we hit record. I was like, if I was literally in quarantine and I didn't have a community of like-minded men that I could lean into, share insights, and most importantly, learn best demonstrated practices, best things to do right now with what we're given, with what we're handed right now, I would be a mess. I would be a total, absolute mess right now. And the message I keep saying over and over is life doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. I thank God for what we do. Thank God for men like you in my life. And I don't know where I'd be without it. I can honestly say that may sound self-serving, but it's not. It's food for the soul, and I could not imagine. I'd be a miserable jackass to be around right now if it wasn't for our community. So I appreciate you being a part of it. As we wrap up here, man, I want to give you the opportunity to share. I know you've got things that you're working on. You've got resources for men, and so share where men can find you.
Well, chrislesso.com is the kind of home base of everything I do, and there's free resources out there for practicing, for just honing your practice habits, whether you do yoga or you do martial arts or whatever you do. So, because part of the LTR concept is your best self through drumming, but drumming is rhythm. And, someone like, say, Michael Jordan or Bruce Lee, I don't do martial arts, and I don't do golf, and I don't do basketball, but I've learned so much from them and stolen that and brought it into my everyday in terms of, attitude, who I show up as a person, and into my drumming. So if anybody is like, man, I don't even know if I even want to drum, or I can't even see myself doing that, there's resources for you there that will just I mean, everybody likes music, Larry, and has a favorite band, right? Guess who makes the band? The drummer. So
The drummer.
even if you think you don't love drums, you do. We are the heartbeat of the music, right? And if you want to get into drumming, there's some, I've got, it's LTR Nation. There's just literally drummers all around the world. It's your best self through drumming. So that's the mission, is uncovering your best self through the power of drumming. So whether you've always wanted to try it, you know somebody, drumming, knows no barriers in terms of age or race or just anything. It's like the spirit of, if you're 70 years young and you've always wanted to try it, pick up the sticks and do it. There's nothing holding you back. And if you know somebody, it's, pass on the inspiration, and it's all there. There's a lot of free resources. And I look forward to connecting with anybody that wants to, find their best selves through drumming and music and practicing and get excited.
Awesome, man. We're going to have all your links in the show notes. So guys, we'll have a link for all of Chris's resources, as well as our sponsor today, which is Bark. As well as if you want to be a member of the Alliance, I'll have an application for you there. And if you just want to dip your toe in and see what we're all about, you can also join our big group, our Facebook group, which is Dad's Edge, Real Dads with Purpose. So gentlemen, as we head out today, you can go to gooddadproject.com/Thursday 213. Again, gooddadproject.com/Thursday 213. Chris, thanks for joining, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate your outlook. Very, very unique outlook. I really enjoyed it. And thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Fantastic.
You bet. Gentlemen, go out, live life with purpose, and above all else, live legendary. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's show. And for more episodes and resources that will give you an edge, head on over to gooddadproject.com.